Coming up on Jerusalem Dateline, the rise of anti-Semitism in the U.S. CBN President Gordon Robertson debriefs with Israel's ambassador to the U.S., Yaki Lighter, about recent crimes. Plus, new alliances, how the IDF is collaborating with an anti-Hamas clan in Gaza. And American Jihad. Death threats force the Israel guys to cancel their upcoming Israel summit in Texas. All this and more coming up on this edition of Jerusalem Dateline. Hello and welcome to this edition of Jerusalem Dateline. I'm Chris Mitchell. Israel recovered the bodies of 2 hostages in Gaza this week. The married couple were both Americans who were murdered in the October 7th attack by Hamas. 56 hostages remain in captivity. This news comes as Iran and the United States may be deadlocked in negotiations over the regime's nuclear program. Here's the latest on these stories, followed by Gordon Robertson's interview with Israel's ambassador to the U.S., Yaki Lighter. Israel announced today the IDF and Shin Bet recovered the bodies of Israeli Americans Judy Weinstein and Gadi Haggai in a special operation. Both were murdered on October 7th at Kibbutz Nir Oz. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said all the citizens of Israel extend heartfelt condolences to the families. 56 hostages remain in captivity. 20 are thought to be still alive. The U.S. vetoed a UN Security Council resolution calling for a permanent and unconditional ceasefire in the war between Israel and Hamas, but did not demand Hamas disarm or release the remaining hostages. 14 members supported the resolution.
The United States has been clear. We would not support any measure that fails to condemn Hamas and does not call for Hamas to disarm and leave Gaza.
As the Trump administration continues its attempt at a nuclear deal with Iran, Ayatollah Khamenei remains defiant about the demand to stop enriching uranium. President Trump is lashing out on Truth Social, writing, "Time is running out on Iran's decision pertaining to nuclear weapons, which must be made quickly. It is my opinion that Iran has been slow-walking their decision on this very important matter, and we will need a definitive answer in a very short period of time." Trump originally gave the negotiators 2 months to come up with a deal. That deadline expires next week. The president is also taking action in the aftermath of an attack on Jewish demonstrators in Boulder, Colorado, by issuing a travel ban and restrictions on 19 countries. 15 survivors of the attack spoke out at a vigil.
I'll say I feel perfectly safe here in Boulder. I absolutely do. I'll say I was wrong, but I was absolutely felt safe. Hey, this was not okay. It really was not okay.
At the White House, CBN News' Kelly Wright asked Caroline Leavitt what the government can do about anti-Semitism.
Can these entities and these agencies work together with the president to put out a proactive campaign to help people stop the hate?
I think the president himself has been leading on this, Kelly, and has been incredibly clear in his rhetoric that he is not going to tolerate such hate or behavior in the United States of America.
The Boulder attack followed the murders of 2 Israeli embassy employees in Washington, D.C. in May, Yaron Lashinsky and Sarah Milgram.
Well, joining us now for more on these stories is Yaki Lighter. He's Israel's ambassador to the United States, and he joins us now for more. Ambassador, it's such an honor to have you with us. In the past,
it's always an honor to be with you. Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. It just seems to be horrible what's happening right now, right here in the United States. We've seen the murder of 2 of your embassy staff. Now the attack on Boulder, and it just doesn't seem that it's safe to be Jewish and be in America. What's your message to Jewish people who are living here?
Well, first of all, I must share with you the fact that the embassy, we have a very large staff here, and we're still in PTSD after losing 2 of our employees. They were lovely people, and everybody here in the embassy felt very close to them. So it really was a horrific experience that we're still we're nursing our wounds. And then, of course, the attack in Boulder. I think it's important to realize that what we're confronting here is the after effect, the aftershocks of a year and a half of students running wild on campuses, people in the streets screaming libelous charges against Israel, against our prime minister, against our soldiers. if we're guilty of genocide or war crimes or ethnic cleansing, there are going to be some crazy people who are going to take the law into their own hands and shoot people. That's what happens at the end of the day. The process of this growing anti-Semitism stops and will begin by confronting these libelous charges. We don't commit genocide. We're a people that were victims of genocide. We don't commit genocide. We're fighting a war against a very evil, cruel, and ghoulish enemy. And we have to win this war, not only for our sake, but for the sake of humanity, and for the sake of civilization.
Well, why is it that the libel that's coming out of Hamas, it's an absolute lie, and it goes back to the beginning of the war. Right after October 7th, there was the claim that the IDF, the Air Force, had bombed a hospital in Gaza, and there was no truth to it at all. It was a rocket fired by Hamas. It didn't hit the hospital, it hit the parking lot. But that story went around the world, and now we're seeing it with Palestinians trying to get humanitarian aid. The headline was Israeli tanks killing Palestinians. Why do these are our top news outlets. We're talking BBC, we're talking New York Times, we're talking Washington Post. Why aren't they just putting editorial review, is this factually true, before they run the story?
It's absolutely insane. The story that you brought up about the hospital. So, of course, for 2 days, Israel was being accused of firing into a hospital. And what does it turn out? That it was the Islamic Jihad who were firing a rocket into Israel. The rocket backfired and it didn't kill 500 people, as it was claimed Israel did. It killed 50 people, and the Islamic Jihad was responsible for it. This is just similar to the story just a week and a half ago, where a UN official went online and said that in 48 hours, listen to this, it's just incredible. In 48 hours, 14,000 infants would die of starvation. How he came up with that number is just astounding. But 48 hours went by, nobody died of starvation, and he walked it back, except nobody heard that. Nobody heard the walk back. Everybody heard that Israel's responsible for 14,000 babies being starved in 48 hours. What is that if not a blood libel? And what they're doing by repeating this, ad nauseum, these accusations, is they're fueling the flames of the deranged among the public who are going to take a gun or a flamethrower or a knife or whatever it may be and attack people. And they have to take responsibility for their actions. Stop the blood libel, and that's the beginning of stopping the rise of anti-Semitism. You can't fight anti-Semitism in this country unless you fight the blood libel against the state of Israel and the soldiers of Israel. And I think that the Department of Justice, the State Department, are doing a fantastic job. The Special Envoy to Combat Anti-Semitism, Leo Terrell, is on top of this. He has the encouragement and the support from the President Trump, to go after these anti-Semites that are promoting this big lie. And again, when you promote this big lie about Israel being a colonialist, genocidal state, we're going to have a violence against innocent people. And the way to stop it is to confront this libelous attack on Israel.
Well, ambassadors, thank you so much for being with us. I want you to know our prayers are with you and with all the embassy staff. Our hearts go out to you. For the staff members that you have lost, may their memory be a blessing to you. I know it's such a time of grieving, but you need to know very clearly that we stand with you and we stand with Israel.
God bless you. Thank you so much for your support.
Coming up, clans in Gaza, armed by the IDF, helping to bolster Israel's war with Hamas.
Because of my love of children and through not having children, I found that by giving through Superbook, it was my little way of spreading the gospel through the eyes of children, and that means so much to me. You've just got to read up about what CBN and Superbook does around the world, and you'll see that you wouldn't hesitate to give. It will become as close to your heart as it is to mine.
If you want to increase your monthly donation or partner with us today just like Fanula, then you can give over the phone securely or send your postal order and checks to the address on screen.
Israel is turning to an unlikely source for help in defeating Hamas in Gaza as Iranian nuclear talks continue and Israel strikes Hezbollah UAV production and storage facilities in Lebanon. CBN Middle East correspondent Julie Stahl has that story.
Israel has been arming a family clan, sometimes called a militia, in Gaza in order to strengthen opposition to Hamas. Israeli opposition leader Avigdor Lieberman leaked that information to Israeli media, and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu did not deny the report.
On the advice of security officials, we activated clans in Gaza that oppose Hamas. What's wrong with this? This is only good and saves the lives of IDF soldiers. The publication of this only benefits Hamas, but Lieberman doesn't care.
The group, led by Yasser Abu Shabab, has been documented operating in an area near the Kerem Shalom border crossing that is under Israeli military control and where aid trucks enter Gaza. It has about 300 members, which Hamas sees as a thorn in its flesh. That report comes as the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation has closed all of its aid distribution sites in Gaza for now, saying they will be reopened later. The sites were closed after shootings near the aid locations earlier this week. Meanwhile, Israel has assured the U.S. it will not strike Iran's nuclear facilities unless President Trump makes it clear that negotiations with Iran have failed, according to Axios. But in another sign that Iran is building up its military program, the Wall Street Journal reports Iran has ordered material from China for hundreds of ballistic missiles. President Trump says he cautioned Netanyahu not to launch an attack on Iran while talks are ongoing. But Trump also said his stand could change with a phone call if talks with Iran aren't making progress. In another show of U.S. support for Israel, Secretary of State Marco Rubio announced sanctions against 4 judges on the International Criminal Court, saying they are directly involved in The Hague's efforts to prosecute Israeli and U.S. nationals for alleged war crimes in Gaza. The decision follows Hungary's earlier move to withdraw from the ICC rather than arrest Netanyahu when he came to visit.
If you check the voting records at the UN General Assembly, you will find a few countries, just a few countries from Europe, opposing every and each anti-Israeli, anti-Zionist resolution. Hungary is among those countries.
And in Lebanon, Israel warned Lebanese civilians to leave specific areas before it struck Hezbollah drone production sites and storage facilities in Beirut and southern Lebanon used by the Hezbollah aerial unit. The IDF says Hezbollah has launched more than 1,000 explosive and reconnaissance UAVs at Israel since the beginning of the war. The IDF says Hezbollah is working to produce thousands of drones under the direction and funding of Iranian terrorists as part of Iran's efforts to harm the state of Israel. Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem.
In other news, one of the largest pro-Israel gatherings planned for 2025 has been indefinitely postponed after escalating terror threats from American jihadists left organizers without a viable venue just days before the event. The Israel Summit, expected to draw more than 1,000 attendees from across the U.S. and via live stream, had to be canceled because of death threats. The cancellation highlights the growing normalization of anti-Semitic threats and anti-Israel extremism. With us now is Joshua Waller, one of the Israel guys leading the Israel Summit, whose family has spent decades supporting Israeli farmers in the biblical lands of Judea and Samaria. Joshua, welcome to Jerusalem Dateline. And first of all, tell us what happened.
Thank you for having me, Mr. Chris, here. And you know, I would just say that we've got an unbelievable, you know, I grew up in Tennessee, and this is hard for me to understand could even happen in Texas. You know, these are conservative states, these are farming communities, and how could such a, you know, a terrible thing happen that these American jihadi groups could come in and cancel a pro-Israel event. You know, this is Christians and Jews gathering to support Israel. Israel's, you know, facing over 600 days of war, and we're rallying support for Israel, and it's shut down by literally the very same people that Israel is at war with. and it's in America. It's a really shocking moment to be understood, the reality of where we are in America right now.
Yeah, tell us what does this say about the U.S. right now, Josh?
Well, I believe that an event like this, for pro-Israel people, this is a wake-up call. And I think that we were a bit asleep at the wheel. I have to say for myself, we experienced some pushback last year at the same. We had an event, the Israel Summit in Nashville. We also got pushback, but we thank God we had, good friends that came together. Dave Ramsey, we were able to host the event at his location. The reality that faces us is so severe. It's the threat is so high. I could go into more details about the incredible threat levels that we face, but I'm telling you guys, the FBI, the Texas Rangers, SWAT, all these people were involved. Helicopters were flying over the event before it was canceled. I mean, we're talking about some of the highest levels of threat. I mean, we saw the shooting that happened in D.C. We saw the 15 injured in Boulder. Guys, this is a reality that's facing America, and it's really shutting down freedom, not only of speech, but freedom of expressing. What was America founded for? We were founded as a place to worship God and freedom, and this is in jeopardy right now in America.
Yeah, we got about a minute left, Josh. Tell us, how can people be praying? How can people be reacting to what's going on right now?
Well, I think the biggest prayer is for America. It's not necessarily for us. America is at a crossroads. We've seen, history tells us very clearly. We can look back at history as those that bless Israel will be blessed, those that curse will be cursed. And if America allows this curse to be continue on American territory, on American soil, it will bring a curse to the nation. We've seen what people in history, we had, from Babylon to Greece to Rome to the Ottomans to the British, those that cursed the state, and now even more. The state of Israel is here. The sovereign state of Israel is here. And if we're bringing a curse and we're not blessing those people, God help us. And we know what history looks like for those nations that don't bless and stand with and support the nation of Israel. So the real prayer right now is for America.
Yeah, and tell us finally, Josh, tell us, where can people find out about the Israel guys, and what are your plans after the cancellation?
We're certainly not backing down. You can find us anywhere. It's just the Israel guys, YouTube, any social media. We're not backing down. We're in this for the long haul. We want to hold the world, Christian Zionism. We stand as a mandate to stand with the people of Israel, and we're not backing down on that. And we're going to see support for Israel rise in the coming days.
Yeah. Joshua Weller from the Israel guys, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Up next, who was the alleged assailant in Colorado who targeted a pro-Israel group for a year?
If you've been following along with the exciting changes here at CBN, then you'll be aware of our increased focus on our work right here in Europe. You can now follow our journey and get involved at cbneurope.com. alongside updates on our exciting goal to make Jesus known across the whole of Europe, including the growth of our engaging children's ministry, Superbook. You'll also find articles on the humanitarian impact we're having and blogs to equip you in your daily walk with Jesus. Come on the journey with us at cbneurope.com.
For a year, Mohammed Solomon in Boulder, Colorado, did his research and planned his attack on Jewish victims with a flamethrower and Molotov cocktails. He targeted a group that hosts weekly events to bring attention to the Israeli hostages in Gaza. CBN's Wendy Griffith has our report.
According to the FBI, Mohammed Solomon confessed to the attack. He told investigators he wanted to kill all Zionist people and wished they were all dead. He said he had no regrets and would do it again.
Mr. Solomon stated that he had been planning this attack for a year. And he acted because he hated what he called the Zionist group.
Solomon specifically targeted the Run for Their Lives group, a national organization with a chapter in Boulder, Colorado, that hosts weekly runs and walking events aimed at bringing attention to the Israeli hostages still being held in Gaza. Dressed as a gardener, Solomon tried to blend in as he waited for his victims to march toward him before unleashing a makeshift flamethrower and Molotov cocktails on the crowd while yelling, "Free Palestine."
And then the attacker came out from the bushes and the trees the second time, and he threw another cocktail, and on the second one he lit himself on fire accidentally, and I imagine it's accidentally. He seemed to have a bulletproof vest on or some kind of vest, and then a shirt underneath it. And after he lit himself on fire, he took off the vest and the shirt, and he was shirtless. But he still had his Molotov cocktails in his hand, ready to use them, like ready to throw them and explode them on people.
The husband and father of 5 told investigators he waited until his daughter graduated from high school last Thursday to carry out the attack. He said no one knew about his plans, and he expected to die during his assault.
If we uncover evidence that others knew of this attack or supported the subject in this attack, rest assured that we will aggressively move to hold them accountable to the fullest extent of the law.
Officials say 8 people ranging in age from 52 to 88 were hospitalized Sunday with burns, and 2 of those victims remained in the hospital Monday. 4 other people suffered minor injuries. Federal officials say Solomon is in the country illegally. Born in Egypt, he lived in Kuwait for 17 years and moved to Colorado Springs 3 years ago and stayed in the U.S. after his work permit expired. Solomon was ordered back to court on Thursday. As of now, he's not being charged with terrorism, although the FBI is investigating it as a terror case. If convicted, Solomon could be sentenced to life in prison. Wendy Griffith, CBN News.
When we come back, no big deal, or is it? A look at a candid anti-Semitic moment as a business owner makes a pizza video. In comparison to the assault in Boulder, Colorado, some might say a recent anti-Semitic incident in Canada is getting blown out of proportion. It happened as a bar owner was filming a pizza review. CBN's Raj Neer thinks it's a bigger deal than people think and a sign of the times. Take a look.
Dave Portnoy, the famous owner of Barstool Sports, who is Jewish, was doing a pizza review in Toronto, Canada, when this happened.
Place is very cool on the inside. We got Frankie Lazzani's whole story, which almost seemed borderline not believable. See, there we go. So here we go, one bite, everybody knows the rules. We won't let that get into, what is that Toronto hospitality there? That's terrible.
My friend, I think this is our canary in the coal mine moment. Not because this is the most serious anti-Semitic attack that's happened recently, but because no one's taking it seriously. It's not that big of a deal. We have normalized this. And this comes, just days after 2 Israeli embassy workers were gunned down in Washington, D.C. for the crime of being Jewish, when people in Boulder, Colorado were set on fire for the crime of being Jewish. It's normal now. Whatever. Here's the thing. This happened to an American in Canada. This has nothing to do with Israel. I think an example would be, let's go back to, say, the 90s and imagine an influential Jewish person was on the street filming something like Steven Spielberg or Jerry Seinfeld, and this happened. This would be so condemned, so out of the ordinary, so absurd and ridiculous. People would be like, oh my gosh, can you imagine that someone had the audacity? And yet in this clip, people were laughing. It's, they kind of not indirectly sort of deserve it. This was Friday on Shabbat in Paris, and 2 synagogues and a Holocaust memorial in Paris were vandalized. Did you hear this story? And even if you did, would you really care? I mean, it's kind of normal, right? Like, a synagogue in Paris was vandalized. Who cares? As someone who has spent a lot of my adult life studying the Holocaust, I thought this would never happen in the West. And man, was I naive. I think it's incumbent upon us to realize the warning signs. You know, I'm not Jewish, but I do follow a Jewish rabbi named Yeshua, who was born in Judea. And as a follower of him, it's incumbent upon me to speak out on behalf of the Jewish people. I don't know what to do with this information other than to say that not on my watch, never again means something to me and my family. And if you have Jewish friends, I've asked several of them in Colorado, in Australia to come on. And like, you know what, I'm kind of scared. I have friends, Jewish friends that are like, we're beefing up the security at our Jewish day schools. I don't really feel comfortable showing my Jewishness. This isn't in Sweden or in Syria. This is in the United States of America. Let's not normalize this. Let's condemn this in the most emphatic terms. Let's not get desensitized to the fact that our Jewish friends and neighbors are scared. And this, as a Gentile follower of Yeshua, not on my watch.
That's a wonderful video from our colleague Raj, and how important it is right now to stand with our Jewish friends. Well, that's all for this edition of Jerusalem Dateline. Thanks for joining us. Remember, you can follow us on social media, and you can access CBN content through our CBN News and other CBN apps. And don't forget to sign up for our email blast so you can continue to receive all of our CBN content. And please don't forget to keep praying for Israel right now, for the peace of Jerusalem, the safe return of all the hostages, and for the protection for the IDF soldiers on all the fronts of the war. I'm Chris Mitchell, and on behalf of all of us here in the Jerusalem Bureau, we'll see you next time on Jerusalem Dateline.
If you need prayer or would like to partner with CBN Europe, then please call 0300 561 0700, or from Ireland, it's 01 578 9449. And from anywhere else, call +44 207 101 7045. And to learn out more about what we're doing across Europe, head to cbneurope.com.